Fun fact: matriarchy refers to a gene-co-centric form of society, in which the leading role is taken by the women and especially by the mothers of a community. The female leader of a herd of elephants is called a matriarch. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at another knife from Spyderco. In this case, it is a sprint run, the Spyderco Matriarch. Now this was a sprint run for 2010 from Spyderco, released for a limited number of pieces, which are around 600 I believe, and it was split between two different versions, the fully serrated version you see in front of you and a plain edge version. Alright, now this knife was made 20 years ago by Spyderco in the 1990s. It was actually requested by a South African distributor who wanted a knife very similar to the civilian but in a smaller scaled down package, and therefore the Spyderco Matriarch was created. So again in 2010, Spyderco decided to release it as a sprint run with a limited number of pieces. On their website they do list it as sold out and no longer available, so if anybody's interested in picking up one of these Matriarchs, I would definitely suggest looking around on the secondary market. Now you will probably be able to find one, but it's probably going to be a little bit more expensive. Alright, so let me give you guys some specifications on this knife and we can jump right into the review. Alright, so the overall length on this guy is quite long. Comes in at 8 5/16 inches. The blade length comes in at 3 5/8 inches long. The handle length here, or the closed length, is 4 7/8 inches long. Blade steel is a VG10. Weight is 2.6 ounces. And the hand material is an FRN. Alright, now I was very lucky to be able to pick one of these up. I've always been a big admirer of the Spyderco Civilian, but just thought it was too large and too impractical for EDC. And the scaled down version, the Matriarch, I was very attracted to and was lucky enough to pick up directly from Spyderco. Alright, so as you can see here, it's a very, very cool looking knife. Alright, that blade shape is probably one of the coolest things I've seen out of Spyderco. Alright, kind of like a hawk bill, but with a reverse S curve here. Very, very nice. You can see I did get the fully serrated version. I would prefer the plain edge, but this is all I could find, so that's what I picked up. Alright, through the use in an EDC role, I have had a lot of tasks for this guy to go through, cutting cardboard, cutting paper, even cutting some bottles open recently. And it's really performed extremely well. That blade shape really lends itself well and has superb cutting power. Alright, those serrations really help to dig into whatever material you're cutting through and really perform and execute the job well. There is a small plain edge portion towards the tip of the blade here that you can use for any fine or detailed cutting that you need to do. Also, the blade stock is pretty thick towards the tip here, or towards the base here of the thumb ramp, and as you get closer to the tip, it actually does thin out some. I was very worried when I first got this that the knife, under any stress, or any torque, or any pressure, that the tip might actually bend or break. But after significant use and actually some hard use, I've been very happy to see that the tip is still intact and going strong. Alright, again, this is a VG10 blade steel. I've had a lot of experience with this in the past with other Spyderco knives. Has performed extremely well, holds a great edge, and just is a great overall EDC steel in my opinion. Alright, the one knock I do have to give this knife, alright, is the opening hole here. So the opening hole, in my opinion, for an EDC blade is not a problem. Alright, it's very, very easy to get open. You can get it open nice and fast. But if you compare the opening hole size to, say, the new full flat ground Delicas or even an Endura, it is quite a bit smaller. And I noticed that the first time I actually opened the knife, the way my thumb sits in the hole, and when I went to open it, I was like, that just feels smaller. And it is. And I found that odd, one, for such a large knife, and two, for a knife that, in my opinion, is really geared towards a defensive blade. And in a defensive situation, I don't want to be fumbling around trying to find the opening hole or having any difficulties opening the knife. I want my thumb to just find it, sink into the hole, and be able to deploy the blade. And in my thinking, a larger opening hole is going to close that gap in the error of trying to open the knife. So I just thought it was odd that they actually made that hole smaller for such a larger knife and one more geared towards defensive purposes. So just a thought, just something to think about. Alright, as you move farther down the knife, you can see it has this very handsome cocoa brown FRN handle scale with the volcano texturing that I've talked about in previous videos. Very, very nice texturing and very, very handsome color. I think it suits the knife overall and looks very nice. Alright, that volcano texturing provides an excellent gripping surface and really allows your hand to lock in. Alright, you can see the ergonomics of the handle here is very similar to the Spyderco Endura, although the base here, the rear portion of the handle, is actually quite a bit thicker. If you were to compare it to the Endura thins out towards the end a little bit. Alright, you do have two kind of choils here in the handle that provide two places that you can actually grip the handle. You can choke up and use the thumb ramp, right, and put the two first fingers in that forward choil, or you can actually set your hand farther back on the handle in the second choil and get a slightly different grip, so you can have a little bit more reach if you're in a defensive situation. Alright, this is using a lockback locking system. Very, very sturdy lockup from the factory, no up and down or side to side play, nor has it developed any over quite a few weeks of EDC use. Right. On the back here you can see the Spyderco pocket clip. Very, very nice pocket clip. It is oriented for tip up right hand carry in the position now. You do have the option to swap it over for left hand carry if you need to. Right. And along with that volcano texturing, it does provide a very secure gripping surface while carrying it in your pocket. I haven't had any problems with this falling out or coming loose or anything like that. It actually provides quite a bit of resistance when trying to pull out of your pocket, which in my opinion for a defensive blade is a very good thing. Alright, but overall fit and finish on this guy is spectacular. I've been very impressed with this sprint run from Spyderco, and I'm very pleased to have been able to pick one up. Alright, now for a quick size comparison for the Spyderco Matriarch. I have a couple knives here that I want to compare it to, both large and small, just to give you guys a good size reference. Alright, so first we're going to keep this in a closed position, and the first knife I'm going to compare it to is the Spyderco Endura. And you can see there that the handle length is exactly the same. Alright, as we open it up here, you can see that the open length is again about the exact same. So the Spyderco Endura is essentially the perfect length as a comparison. Spyderco Tenacious, right? Tenacious is a large knife, and you can see there that the Matriarch pretty much dwarfs it, right? Also, Benchmade Griptilian. This is the full-size Griptilian. Right? See the length there. Right. Next would just be the Spyderco Delica. See, the Delica is significantly smaller both in the handle length and the blade length compared to the Matriarch. Right. Next would be the Benchmade 940. Okay. And just for laughs, I'm going to compare it to Spyderco Ladybug. Right. Barely the length of the handle. Overall knife is just a little bit longer than the actual blade. Alright, so that's just been some quick size comparisons for the Spyderco Matriarch. Alright, that hawkbill blade shape really allows you to dig into the material that you're cutting and almost have to apply no pressure whatsoever. Just goes right through it. Now you can use more of the belly of the blade here if you wanted to, although it's not really necessary. Just goes right through it. There you go. Just goes right through it. Now I think a paper cut test is kind of pointless when talking about serrated blades, but just for the heck of it, I'm going to try it and see what the results come out to be. Not bad so far. If you get it right in a serration, one of the larger portions of the serration, it does cut better. Alright, let's just try this. There you go. Paper cut test. Spyderco Matriarch. Alright, now for the up close and personal segment of this video. I'm going to take a very close look at the Spyderco Matriarch. Show you those awesome Spyderco serrations that go the full length of the blade. And there's the very small plain edged tip for any fine or detailed cutting you'd want to do. You have the Spyderco logo along with the Spyderco opening hole. Spyderco VG10 stamped in the blade there. Cocoa brown FRN handles with the volcano texturing, as you can see there. Very, very handsome color. I think it fits the knife very well. See the lock back there. Lock bar makes a very positive contact with the rear of the blade tang. Alright, and then the black Spyderco pocket clip. Alright, it's holding up very well. No visible wear marks. And on the back here, Seiki City, Japan stamped. Alright, so that's just been an up close and personal look at the Spyderco Matriarch. Alright, so my final thoughts on the Spyderco Matriarch. Over the month and 2 weeks that I've had this in my possession and have been rotating it in and out of my EDC, I've been extremely impressed with its performance and overall quality. Spyderco always does a great job of producing their knives, and they've really never let me down in the past. So I had very high expectations for this Matriarch, and they were far surpassed. Great sprint run from Spyderco, very impressed with it, and very happy that I was able to pick one up. Again, if you guys are interested and you're able to find one on the secondary market, I would strongly suggest picking it up. It's a great knife, a great user, and will definitely be part of my collection for a long time. So I appreciate you guys watching. Stay tuned for the next review, and I'll see you shortly.